Oh, Jesus. I'm so glad you're back. You really had us worried. I thought you were dead.
Don't worry, babe. I'm cool. Gonna take a bit more than some Romans to knock me down. I'm in great shape. You know, I do CrossFit.
I have to admit, I was a little bit mad at you when you had a Last Supper with the guys and I wasn't invited.
You know how the guys are. Don't worry. I'm having a Last Supper just with you tonight.
Great. What are we having? Is that bread?
Yeah, this is bread. It represents my body.
Okay. That's a little bit weird. Oh, what's that? Wine?
Yeah, that's wine. It represents my blood.
Blood wine? I think you've already started drinking without me. What is that? Is that mayonnaise?
It is. This represents...
Wait. What the fuck, Jesus? That's a little bit of a weird way to come on to me.
Oh, come on, babe. I've been dead for 3 days.
No. First of all, you were gone a day and a half tops. It seems I can guess which part of you rose from the grave first. Yeah, that's gross. I'm going home.
Babe, come back. Well, I guess I'm playing by myself tonight. Wonder how these handholds are going to work out. Oh, yeah. Sinful.
Fantastic.
That's good.
You're listening to Left of the Valley 2.0.
Hello, my name is Marie LePage, and I took a left at the valley.
I know we shouldn't have to scream that we're atheists. You know, we don't have non-astrologers and all that. But with religious people taking over the world, I mean, we can either speak up or be pushed into a corner.
I'm proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen. I call it how I say it. I say it's ignorance and you just call it faith and unsubstantiated claims. That's something to be ashamed. I'm an atheist.
Coming at you from City, BC, Alligator, Florida, and Coat Hanger, Texas, this is Left of the Valley 2.0. My name is Kevin, and it's been a strange day. I found a hat full of money, but then I was chased by an angry man with a guitar.
How dare you? Don't attack the buskers.
Yeah, the buskers. What kind of word is that?
That's the word for it.
It's a
They're
real
buskers.
word.
It's a stupid
Joining me as usual is the team who knows you have fingers with fingertips, but your toes have no toe tip. Yet you can tiptoe but not tip finger.
Oh, come on.
Why are you driving a parkway? Parking the driveway.
That's right. She says marriage is just a nice word for adopting a man who won't take care of himself. Sabrina.
Aye.
Accurate.
He says
Pretty much.
he says if alcohol can damage short-term memory, just think what alcohol can do. Brett Lee.
That's right.
And he stole a mug at the office. To be fair, it said, "Come and take it." Benjamin.
I did. And they deserved it.
Accurate.
Guys, welcome back. And this episode is brought to you by our patrons. You too can become a patron. Just go to patreon.com/LATV and help our efforts. Guys, today we'll be talking to David Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
His, Time Shards series and his lovely partner as well.
Oh, she's
So
going to
that'll
be here as well?
Exactly.
Oh,
Both of them are going to be a Joe. It's going to be a great time.
Double interview.
The
Okay.
show. But first, before we do all that, apparently we're doing a contest.
We are.
Ooh. Please elaborate.
Well, it's just a small contest announcement. But if you want to receive an autographed copy of the Time Shards trilogy, which is what we're actually going to be talking to David Fitzgerald about today.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to have you do is go to facebook.com/left at the valley. And there's going to be a post there. It's going to tell you all about how to enter. We're not going to go live on this contest right away because, of course, we have to have some time to edit the audio and the video. So we're going to go live Friday, October 1st.
Oh.
And we will close on October 15th.
Nice.
2 weeks. And we will announce the winner on our show live Sunday, October 17th.
I'm going to assume I can't participate in this contest.
No, sorry.
Sorry, Benjamin.
But I really want an autograph now. Fuck, all right, you know.
This is bullshit. This is bullshit.
It's just straight up bullshit. God damn it, Mom.
And if this works, this will be the first of several.
Yes, this is something we're gonna be working on. So we're actually revamping our Facebook page and our website. So this is kind of the start of that. So come on over and watch us as we slowly grow. We're gonna open this contest to Canadian and US residents only because international shipping's a bitch. So sorry guys, but maybe in the future.
Got 2 people in Lithuania right now. They're very angry with us.
I know. I apologize, but I've actually shipped something even only to Mexico, and my lord, it took like 3 months. So we're not.
Even just shipping to the States actually pretty.
Sometimes it can be, but yeah.
that one poor like fucking Amazon driver that has to go all the way to fucking Mexico. You know?
Yeah. I just have to insert just a little bit of legal stuff. This is not this contest isn't going to be affiliated with Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or any other podcatcher. We will have full rules posted with the contest on our website at leftatthevalley.com leftatthevalley.ca.
Yeah,
do not go to .com.
I know.
Leftatthevalley.ca. Yes,
emphasize that.
Yeah, and one more thing, you're going to need to know this. The code word is mojito.
Mojito. You need the code word.
You need the code word, right?
Professionals with real contest rules and everything.
Everything.
Yeah, look at us.
I know all about contests.
Yay.
Which is we've established by now is God's favorite drink.
Mojito. Exactly. Mojito. Do not forget that word.
Anyway, let's go to your local chat.
Yeah.
For American friends, you might not know, but Canada just had an election.
Canada barely knew, just so you know.
We were in election mode for a full 36 days.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think normally I do see election posters out in some respect. I saw one.
Yeah. Well, Canada re-elected Justin Trudeau for his 3rd term.
Yeah, it was a pointless election. He still has a minority government.
So. And basically, there's really nothing that really changed across the entire country. So.
What, didn't they gain a couple seats in BC?
I think they gained, but they lost some seats in the Atlantic Canada. So, I mean, it was pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
This was done as a gamble because during the COVID pandemic, Justin handled it pretty good, actually. And his numbers were looking really, really good. And, when parties see that their numbers are really looking really good, they'll often call a snap election, which is exactly what he did. Your numbers are good, you call a snap election, and you hope to get a majority government in the parliamentarian system.
Yeah.
That's what he gambled on.
I'd like to point out his dad did that and succeeded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
we've done that on a list here sometime before.
Real quick. So a snap election is just them being like, all right, let's do an election.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. Because the prime minister has that power to actually go to the governor general and say, I'm calling a snap election. I'd like to dissolve the house. And she usually she'll just say yes. And that's what happens. Normally there's a fixed 4-term limit like everybody else, but Justin basically.
Oh my.
Is it just us?
It's just us. It's just you and I.
We froze.
Oh. Did we freeze?
Yeah, there you go. You
you guys froze. I don't know. Or maybe we froze to y'all. I don't
know. No, I could hear you. Sorry, guys. We're working on hardwiring our internet.
So anyway, just to say all that, it hasn't really changed much of anything.
Yeah, it was really a pointless election. So
pretty much, and it cost $600 million.
Yeah, $600 million for now.
We have snap elections here. They just last like 4 years.
Yeah. We don't have. I mean, there will be another election, right? Like, even though he had this one, we'll have another election in
4 years.
In 4 years from now.
Yeah,
it's all.
And we generally know when the snap is. You
guys go into election mode right after you guys.
Literally, it's like election ends. It's still early November. They're like, okay, so time to start my campaign.
Yeah, we don't have to wait for Thanos to get his gauntlet or anything. Like, it's
I would like to take the opportunity to extend my thanks to Joe Biden. And I say this because I don't know if you guys have followed the Huawei Cfo thing that's been going on. The Cfo of Huawei, which is a Chinese company, is called Meng Wanshao. And she was arrested here under by the Canadian police to be extradited to the U.S. She was accused of lying to the HSBC bank in order to evade U.S. sanctions against Iran at the time. And Donald Trump essentially kind of asked for her arrest, and Canada complied because, we like to keep good relations with the U.S.
Sure.
Donald Trump at the time wanted to use Meng Wanzhou as a pawn in his deliberation with trade negotiations with China.
Yeah.
The thing is, this was in 2018, by the way. The thing is, China retaliated by arresting 2 random Canadians in China by the name of Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. Sorry.
They're like, find me some Canadians.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, while Meng Wanzhou was basically under house arrest in her mansion here in Vancouver.
Yeah, she didn't have to actually go to jail.
These 2 Michaels were actually in a Chinese jail for 3 years in the Chinese prison, and they were not treated very well. Justin Trudeau at the time kept bringing the issue forward in his diplomatic relations with the U.S. And of course, under Trump, we get the best and nothing but the best, and we'll take a look at it for sure, Justin. Now, of course, he did nothing. But when Joe Biden came in, and this is where you see there's a change in administration, Joe Biden took this actually quite seriously. So what happened is she appeared in federal court in Brooklyn to face the charges, and essentially they basically worked out a deal. So Meng Wanzhou is essentially now on a jet and went back to China. And as soon as that happened, the Chinese released Michael Spavor and the other Michael as well.
Yep.
So thank you, Mr. Biden. Despite all we don't agree on a lot of things, but you know what? This was a great example of leadership right there. So from Canada, thank you so much, Mr. Biden.
Yeah.
In other news,
awesome. I had no idea that happened. That's awesome.
It's pretty
I missed that whole shit.
Like,
I don't know how.
You need another excuse to hate Trump. Right?
It popped up on my Apple Watch. That's how important it is. Apple News told me all about it as soon as she got released.
Canadian.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, that's probably
Canadian
like when
and happy news.
So this
we
actually,
were probably talking about Trump drinking water at the time, so it was a little bit drowned out by Trump drinking water, and so,
it shows yet again the importance of who you vote for and who you put in the administration. In other news, do you guys remember the residential schools?
Yes.
We've been talking about this for quite a lot. It turns out Canada's Catholic bishops are now apologizing in an open letter where they express, quote, profound remorse for participating in the system. Now, this is not the Pope. This is just the Canadian bishops. Quote, we acknowledge the grave abuse, physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual, cultural, and sexual. The bishops are committed to helping and pledge to fundraise for reconciliation. Guys have
Okay, so they're just going to fundraise. They're not going to give any of their own Catholic.
Oh, of course
church.
not.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
We'll totally help fundraise.
Yeah.
Other people can pay for this.
Yeah, what they're seeing is the backlash. Like, it's so bad. I don't know how many of you know this, but September 30th is a new statutory holiday in Canada, and it's for Truth and Reconciliation. So all federal employees will have the day off. A lot of other businesses will close, and likely in the next couple of years, the provinces will adopt it as well, and then it will become a day off for everybody.
Like a stat holiday.
It is a statutory holiday. It's exactly like that.
Yeah, so I'm glad this is a story that should not be just buried because of this.
No.
But it's a huge step that finally the Catholic churches, are coming and saying something, and hopefully now Pope Frank can come out himself and actually say something to these people. And work towards reconciliation. So good news. That is good news.
Yes.
Did you guys hear the Spanish island of La Palma? Several towns on this island actually are being evacuated. The town of I'm going to massacre this. Tayua or Tacante de Abajo and Tacante de Arriba. There's a volcano there. There's a volcano called Cumbre Vieja.
Yes.
No, the rapture is here.
And it spewed thousands of tons of lava and destroyed hundreds of houses already. Wow. To the point that the island, 15% of the banana crop is actually at risk at this point. So who knows? They might see a jump in prices in bananas soon because of this.
Oh man, I love bananas.
I know.
Have you seen the thing though too that it may possibly cause a mudslide, which will cause a tsunami or whatever it is to really decimate the east coast of the U.S.?
What?
Oh.
No, I did not.
So there's this whole thing with the landslides that may happen if they did happen. I don't think they did, but if it would have happened, they were like projecting a lot of damage.
Okay, so for our audience,
It would slide into the ocean, right?
you gotta remember
So
the island of La Palma is a bit off Spain and near the Canary Islands. So think of the U.S. eastern coast. You have the Atlantic, and then you have the Canary Islands, and then you basically have kind of like the mainland. It's one of those islands. So what Benjamin is saying, if that mudslide happens, that mud slides into the water going west. It could cause a tsunami that would head west towards the U.S.
And the Canary Islands will basically be the canaries in the coal mine. And
Nice.
that's kind of scary.
Yeah, flights in the area also been canceled. There's a cloud of ash extending 4 kilometers into the sky at this point. So, yeah, it's getting pretty scary out there for that volcano.
Yeah, no kidding.
And in other, last but certainly not least, bad news, COVID. All right. So now COVID numbers in the U.S. have surpassed more than the Spanish flu of 1918
Deaths.
in deaths. Now the COVID death in the U.S. number to 676,000 deaths. In the Spanish flu of 1918 killed about 675,000. So congratulations, COVID is now deadlier to the U.S. than the Spanish flu was. Of course, we got to take into consideration in 1918, the population of the U.S. is only 1/3 of what it is currently. So it's not per capita yet, but it is going that way.
Yeah.
Did it 3 more times. So
Yeah.
1.8 million, that's your target, U.S.
So now they're saying 1,900 people are dying daily
Jesus
in the U.S.
Christ.
because of this COVID flu.
I just
So
got
when-
my appointment for my 3rd shot today.
Oh, you're getting a 3rd shot.
Good.
Yes,
So the
because I
U.S.
am
is
high risk.
how did you do that, man? Like,
I
how
am
do you?
high risk.
Really?
Okay. Me too. I mean, but okay. So I gotta look. I gotta look into this. They're not gonna come contact me and be like,
It
"Hey, you're high
depends
risk."
on
So
where you're at, because there's in the DFW Metroplex here, there's some cities that are already pre-setting up booster appointments for people, or they're ramping up to do so. But I
Nice.
just scheduled mine in a pharmacy because I'm high risk. So
yeah. Well, I mean, really, what they should be doing is anybody that's like has like COPD medication or anything like that, they should be contacting them.
That's
No,
what they
Brent,
did here.
just reach out to one of your local pharmacies. They will have the shot. Like I signed up at CVS. It's really straightforward. You tell them you're getting your booster. They ask you if you're high risk or over 65, and you just sign right up.
Reach out and stab someone with a needle.
I wonder how long
Yeah.
it'll be before
Oh,
the
good. Okay.
boosters here.
And I've now started
have to
calling
look into that,
the
'cause I
cold
think I need
shoulder on women's shirts vaccine shoulders.
Oh, nice.
So did you guys hear that they actually are naming the vaccines now? So they're not just going to call it Pfizer and Moderna.
Yeah,
and-
they have names now.
yeah.
They have a
Moderna,
badass name like Cobra.
the Moderna is called SpikeVax.
Spikeface.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
What's the
Pretty
Pfizer
manly.
name?
Honestly, I didn't get Pfizer, so I don't know.
Sabrina.
Give me
How
a
can you leave
second.
me hanging like
They
that?
need to name them like monster trucks or something, so these liberals will be like, "What is it called?" Okay, well now I feel like I got to get it.
It's normal that they name the vaccination
Yes.
because it was just named after the company.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to create more confusion than anything else.
Yeah.
I think they should just, for now, until the crisis is passed, they should
And
just
no,
keep on
honest-
naming the Moderna vaccine or the Pfizer.
Oh,
vaccine.
right. Pfizer is it's a really hard one to say. Comirnaty.
Okay, now I'm mad. We don't get a cool vaccine name.
on,
BioNTech
man.
Comirnaty.
Oh,
yeah.
community. Yeah, it's like community.
That sounds
like-
too much like communism. It's
That's
just-
right.
this branding is terrible.
Then drink.
COM.
They're all
They're like, see, I told you. Now I'm going to
Yeah.
have communism with my vaccine.
right.
Yeah.
community that all drinks natty ice.
There's
That's
a really
what it
good
is. It's-
Johnson and Johnson. No, the AstraZeneca one is a really funny name too.
That's going to be funny because now the next QAnon thing is going to be the communist Pfizer vaccine, Comirnaty.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, the Astra. I'm searching it. It's
Why
called
do you think they named it that, bro? Why do you think? Okay.
AstraZeneca is called Vaxzevria.
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 They
Yeah.
weren't even trying on that one.
No, they weren't. And
Okay,
honestly, I
sounds-
would get the AZ vaccine
Sounds vaguely
anyway.
sexual.
It's
Vaxzevria.
Right.
yeah, it's not recommended. Well, they're recommending you get Pfizer or Moderna if you've already had Astra.
Sabrina, do you have a top 10 for
Are you
us?
mad because you read your top 10 last week?
I did not. Oh, last week I did.
Yeah, that was
you
fucked up,
did.
man.
It was
Like-
fun.
I'm sorry. I had to go get a tattoo. It was much more important.
Not more important than this show. How dare you?
Hey, I've been working on that tattoo for a year.
We've been working
It's
on the
almost
show
done.
since 2014.
Yeah, I haven't
No.
watched this since 2014.
All those people, they're going to be like, I was going to give him Patreon money, but Sabrina wasn't there.
And apparently they've already got enough money to get tattoos and shit.
Yeah,
They
no.
got tattoos.
You don't know what I had to
How
do.
bougie are they?
We're all getting the same tattoo Sabrina got.
Only the rich people get tattoos. That's
You got a leg free because
I
it's
know.
almost my whole leg. Anyways, so this week my top 10 is the top 10 odd medical record statements that have been supposedly found on patient charts.
Oh God.
Hmm.
Odd medical
Okay.
statements.
Yeah, you ready for this?
Yeah, no, I'm not. Let's go.
Number
Ready
10,
for
the
it.
skin was moist and dry.
Okay. That's
Right.
weird. Skin was
That's
moist.
tough to do right there.
Yeah, right?
It's only sweating in one spot.
Here's a
You
good
have to
one.
get the
Number-
powder and the
yeah, and the lotion.
the lotion. Thank you. you can't. You don't know what to do. You know?
Lotion. There's an untapped market right there. Number 9, the patient lives at home with his mother, father, and pet turtle, who is presently enrolled in daycare 3 times a week.
The turtle?
The
Yeah,
turtle.
of course.
Turtle
Hey, my-
daycare?
I mean, my turtle's in daycare. Is this weird? This is.
I'm gonna guess the patient is who is enrolled in daycare 3 times a week.
No, I'm
but,
sticking with the turtle. The turtle means
It
turtle
totally
daycare.
reads like the
It's all
turtle,
the
is,
turtle.
right?
His turtle teacher just generally eats lettuce the whole time. I don't know how he's learning anything, but whatever. You know, it's a.
I've been trying to teach him ABCs, but I've been trying to teach him martial arts. I'm making him Ninja Turtle. His backflips are horrible.
I tied the bandana around his head. And he looks the part, but you know, he's pretty slow.
I got a good one for you.
Find a small pair of nunchucks for that turtle.
Number 8. The patient was in his usual state of good health until his airplane ran out of gas and crashed.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, that'll do it for you.
that doctor was being funny.
You're being a
The
dick,
doctor is.
really.
They knew it. They knew they were being funny.
That patient was alive until his accident. Now he's dead. So,
Yeah, he's alive until they weren't.
he was
Yeah.
alive until his death.
Yeah. So, number 7, the patient was to have a bowel resection. However, he took
Whoa. A bowel what?
resection.
Bowel resection?
Yes, that's where
So
they
you
like clip
You
away.
suck it back in.
part of
Wait.
the bowel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you go.
Okay.
You go.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'll start again. Number 7, the patient was to have a bowel resection. However, he took a job as a stockbroker instead.
What? What were they even trying to say? Like,
Like on this one, I'm guessing that they didn't get the surgery done and then their bowel got a lot worse and they ended up in the ER. And this is the notation the ER made.
oh, okay, Jesus.
I were to
Well,
guess.
you know,
I'm
Sure.
lost.
stock market, bowel resection. It's a tough one, you know.
Yeah, you don't get time off. That's
you
an 80 an hour plus job a week. You know.
So number 6 is a good idea to proofread, not just rely on spell check. I saw your patient today who is still under our car for physical therapy.
It's a new practice. It's not, you know.
Yeah,
You
it's
just
called
squish him with a
autotherapy.
car.
You're like,
Yeah.
I get hit by a car and the physical therapist shows up at the accident scene.
Really relaxes the muscles there. You know?
Well, you know, there's a difference between being hit with a Volvo and being hit with a Mercedes Benz. You know,
That's right.
You can, it depends where your wallet is.
Yeah,
Get hit by
yeah.
a Benz, get more perks. You know, it's heated seats. You know,
It was a VW Beetle from the '60s. Okay,
Oh,
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Right.
So
Otherwise, we'd hurt him.
number 5 is actually a really good reason to not only proofread for spelling mistakes and weird autocorrects. This one's more of an autocorrect. While in the emergency room, she was examined, X-rated, and sent home.
Oh, yeah.
She was-
At least it was a
She
triple.
came on to me, man, and made me really
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So I was like, "You gotta go, lady. I'm married and happy."
I examined her thoroughly and broke.
Number 4, she stated that she had been constipated for most of her life until 1989 when she got a divorce.
Okay, so
I don't
medically this
understand the word
makes
that's
sense.
messed up. Like
Honestly,
that would
because
fuck up a marriage.
Some people are actually very nervous poopers, and if she
Yeah.
was with this man that freaked her out,
Yep. Could you imagine not pooping your whole marriage? No thanks.
Right?
I'm sure she pooped eventually, but
Well,
she
he
divorced him.
divorced-
He's out of her life, and suddenly all that stress is
Like,
gone. She can just poop
"Woohoo,
whenever
I
she wants. She feels
he
safe.
divorced her because she was full of shit anyway.
Yeah.
He's telling all his buddies. She's just basically a big bag of shit at this point.
Who knew?
Number 3, when she fainted, her eyes rolled around the room.
Wow.
Little Beetlejuice there for you.
And just like fucking.
Pop 'em out.
Well, yeah, I see her fainting, hitting the ground, and when her head hits the ground, it
Yeah,
pops her eyes out, and then they just roll everywhere.
They're like super balls. They just bounce.
You know that I don't know if you guys remember that movie. There was a classic comedy movie with Charlie Sheen. It was called Hot Shots,
Mhm.
and he talks to this girl and he says, "I even have my father's eyes," and he opens up a little thing.
Yeah,
You know,
he's got his father's
But
eye.
you don't see, it's from the back. The camera's aiming from the back, so you don't see the eyes. And I saw this in the movie theater. I started howling in the movie theater by myself. And everybody's looking at me because nobody got the joke but me, apparently, that he had his father's actual eyes. I even got my father's eyes, you know. And nobody got the joke but me. And everybody was looking at me. What the fuck's so funny?
Because some of those will just go by you in those movies.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
They'll just fly on by.
I think number 2 is one of my favorites. She is numb from her toes down.
Okay, so just her toes.
The bottom of her.
Right? Maybe the bottom of her feet?
Well, the top of her toes, you know. And
The bottom of her toes?
to the bottom of her toes.
The part of your body that's not your body.
And 1 inch.
Maybe.
Numb.
Okay, no.
It's numb.
Maybe she liked to lay upside down.
Oh, good point. And number 1, the baby was delivered, the cord clamped and cut and handed to the pediatrician, who breathed and cried immediately.
The
Pediatrician
cord
was holding his breath.
Yeah,
breath
thank
the
God
whole
for that
time.
pediatrician breathing and crying immediately.
No, it sounded to me like the cord was handed to the pediatrician, and then the cord breathed
And
and
he started
cried.
moving and cried immediately.
Very-
Like it's stuck to the placenta, and the end of the cord that's cut off is suddenly now breathing and crying.
Dude, that cord is an empath. That's why, you know.
Don't cut me.
I'll tell you, that's why it's crying.
That's like a horrible,
No,
scary
I
movie.
feel-
Now. You just been handed over a placenta that's crying. That's like
Crying placenta.
I like to think it's more like, look, I just feel bad for you because now, you know,
cord
you
is
just
its
cut a part
mouth.
of you, and now are you okay?
It has little sharp
You look-
teeth inside of it.
oh god.
Little
Is this
vampire
the
cord.
Halloween episode?
Not
Did I
yet.
miss something?
Oh goodness.
I smell a story brewing.
This probably happened in Texas
good.
too, right? They saved the placenta.
Oh,
and
God.
didn't save the baby.
She thought she was giving birth to Satan. Turns out it was the placenta.
Oh, man.
All right, let's get to another segment we always love called.
Things that make you go.
All right, Ben, what do you got?
All right, so there's this Twitter account that is documenting some portfolio trading since nearly up 20% since June, performing better than Bitcoin, NASDAQ 100, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, and the S&P 500. So it's doing really well. And so you probably ask, like, why are we going here?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out all these trades are made by someone called Mr. Gox. And Mr. Gox is a hamster.
wait a minute. There's a hamster trading on Wall Street somewhere and doing better
Yeah.
than all these brilliant people.
So
how-
someone set up a cage. In the cage on the hamster wheel, when he runs on it, it selects dozens of cryptocurrencies. Then once he's done on there, deciding between two tunnels, it decides whether or not to buy or sell this cryptocurrency.
Oh my God, that's fucking hilarious.
That's amazing.
That just proves to you that the stock market, it doesn't really fucking matter. Just spin a wheel and go, ding, that's what I want.
I believe that this is the point of the whole experiment, is that it doesn't matter what you actually know or think you know.
Yeah.
A random hamster is doing better.
Money than you.
And just to respond to all the emails before we get them, it's not me. I'm
It's
not.
not me. I'm not the hamster.
I'm not the
I wish I
hamster.
was the hamster.
And though actual numbers haven't been disclosed, it has been disclosed that they are using actual money to do this with.
Wow.
Soon that hamster will be Secretary of the Treasury.
So it's actually like screenshots of their like stock portfolio percentage up or down.
Yeah, and they're showing how it's performing, how it's working,
yeah.
and based on what this hamster has made quote unquote choices on, it's doing fantastic.
Well, when you think of most people on Wall
Interesting.
Street can be considered rodents, I think this makes perfect sense.
Agreed.
Rodents in
I mean-
cages, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
Where you skip
feel-
your surgery just to be on Wall Street.
Yeah, no
you skip
shit.
your surgery
Yeah.
because you're such a rat for the rat race. So of course the hamster's going to do great things.
And they're on their little capitalism hamster wheel. So, I mean, it makes sense.
Other
think
that-
notable people that people are following for stock tips are random TikToks and 2 random kids from Baltimore.
Really? What about the Reddit group, Wall Street Bets?
Oh yeah, where they're just trying to
Great shit
screw
posted.
with Wall Street.
Yeah, actually, GameStop's still in the hundreds, so there you go.
Yeah,
Or it was.
Because so a lot of people bought the shorts on Wall Street,
Yeah.
and they were just
Yeah.
intentionally trying to screw up people that are betting against stocks.
It's still working because they still need to cover their shorts, so there's still a lot of pressure on that stock. But these people just aren't selling. They're like, yeah,
I want
Fuck you.
to see people compete with that hamster with a guinea pig.
Right?
Well,
guinea pigs don't run on wheels, though.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
No,
There's got to be another way of making the guinea pig choose.
a rat will, though.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
You got a
rat
button.
will. Rats are way better pets than hamsters. I've had both. Trust me.
You know what? Make it interesting. Make it a capybara. Biggest rodent out there.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. We
Oh,
got
no,
to
no,
Kick
no.
all their asses.
Subtly.
Just stomp on them.
Just stomp on them.
Yeah.
Capybara would, yeah.
Pizza.
Yeah,
That's
they're big
like-
enough.
He's
Boom,
big.
boom.
Because,
Yeah,
because
that's
he's
good.
big.
You'd stomp on your hamster.
Okay, we like took a left turn at this hamster.
Of
here.
course, we always do.
I don't
What's the whole point
understand
of
any
this?
stock market stuff. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah,
I don't
no.
know what the
Do not
fuck
take
anybody's
advice
saying.
For me,
Apparently, you don't
my
need to
portfolio
understand.
is in the red. Okay, my portfolio is way red.
So it's like playing a fucking game at the casino.
yeah.
Here's what we're gonna
Because
do.
I don't understand any of those games either. I just
Do
push
not invest
buttons.
more than you're willing to lose.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put Brent in a cage.
I want to see
It's a
Brent.
great
I want to see
down
fucking
with
Brent
it.
with a wheel. I want to see Brent with a wheel. I want
I
to see
do-
Brent with a
You
wheel.
can get those, and you can get the big blow up balls. You know, they're like the hamster balls. We can just like stick them in one, and he can like roll over on.
Well, I mean, actually, I already got a cage. It's for like other.
yeah. Again, we're not.
We can
keep-
use that one.
nicely.
I want to see that.
Exactly.
Big ball, I just want to see that big bottle water dispenser there.
The whole ball and gag of that thing is.
With the
Yeah,
little ball on
Brent's
the
I mean,
Yeah.
it's anyway.
We're gonna. That's how we're gonna make choices. We're gonna be like, okay, does Brent want the ball and gag today or what? And that's gonna choose whether or not we buy or sell.
ball and gag is buy. What are we using for sell?
You don't want to know.
I think we should
I
tie
mean,
up.
it's right because I don't usually do the cage and the ball and gag. So like, it's one or the other. So like, you know, it's a ton. It's,
Okay,
Wait,
so
you haven't done
we-
both together? Come
well,
on, Brent.
you know, it's I don't
Step
need the
up your
ball and
game.
gag when I'm in the cage. You
Step
know,
up your
it's-
game.
all right.
I still think we should tie Brent to a big wheel and put all the stories we're going to do around the wheel and spin the wheel, and wherever his head lands, that's the
That
story
would
we're talking
work.
about. That'd be a great idea.
which head?
Wait, can we decide the contest winner this way? We'll just put the names on the wheel.
There we go.
Oh, we could do that. We could
Well, I
do
like this idea. It's gonna be fun. It's hot.
that. You guys are great.
You know,
I love you
if I
guys.
live
That's a
close
hot
to you,
idea.
If I live close to you guys, we would absolutely do that. We would go
We
down
really
there,
would.
we'd build a wheel, we'd strap Brent
But
to it,
here's
and
the good
spin.
news. Kevin and I do live really close together, like we're maybe 10 feet apart. So I can build the wheel, I'll spin him.
There you
Heavy
go.
for you to spin.
Oh, no,
gotta-
no. I'll get Jax to help.
Okay, fair enough.
You got to wear all leather. That's the rule.
I can organize
in the
this.
cage room. I'm just saying that's sort of the
Anyway.
general rule for that room.
It's time for another brilliant moment.
Is it?
Bradley, you're on, buddy.
All right. So, I don't know if y'all have ever heard of this lady. She's made some news lately in the past year or so. Her name's Sydney Powell,
Oh.
and
Hi, Sydney Powell.
she's she's an attorney, Sort of.
Not for
like,
long.
Yeah, kind of. Not really.
Are you sure she's still an attorney? I'm not sure. I'd verify that.
I did. Well, I know that Giuliani got his revoked, but I'm not really sure about her at this point.
Anyway.
I'd imagine that that's coming soon, like you said.
Mhm.
But yeah. So she was the one that I don't know if a lot of people heard. Like she was going to be releasing the Kraken for the
Kraken
for the U.S. Trump Biden election, fraud that they claimed they had so much evidence for, but yet couldn't get over the tiny bar that is standing in the 63 cases that they brought to the Supreme Court or brought to the courts. And even the Supreme Court then was like, no, we're not going for that. You don't have anything. And so she has, been basically now she's being sued by these. She went against Dominion voting machines and Smartmatic. And I want to make this very clear. The point that she was trying to make and saying that, oh, these things could get hacked and stuff. They're literally machines that count paper.
Yeah.
Like that's their job. That's what their thing is, is it counts the paper ballots. And so it's a real easy fix. If something goes wrong, you just count the paper ballots and see, yourself and see if they're working. And they're working. They were all working. They got nothing. They have no.
I would like to point out she's facing some investigations in at least Texas.
Yeah, she's being sued for $1.6 billion too.
From Dominion. Now,
now she sanctioned in Michigan. Like all kinds of she's
so she's not
she's
gonna
a
be
mess.
much longer.
She's a mess. All right, she's a hot motherfucking mess.
What do you expect? These are the same people that try to test the paper to see if it was not made of bamboo to see if it was made from China.
Yeah,
I mean, these are idiots. I mean,
with the cyber ninjas. Yeah, exactly. And of course, she's very much in support of that because it's all conspiracy theory nonsense bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, she's now countersuing for being sued because.
You can't sue me, I sue you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but pretty much. Yeah, I mean that's
exactly
what it is. But I feel like she admitted that like she didn't have anything a couple times.
Well,
but
she
anyway,
direct questions, but yeah.
Yeah, and now she's like claiming that. Well, we got a little video that we can play.
Oh
and
yeah,
we
I got a clip here.
Show you what she's claiming exactly, but I just want to give a little background. I like to do that.
Well, Sydney, you saying things like this, has there been threats on your life?
Oh, I get threatened regularly.
And you seem to handle it so well. Do you have personal security, or what do you do?
I keep angels on my shoulders. God did not give me a spirit of fear.
All right, let's pause that real quick.
Well,
So, I mean, the angels on your shoulders, usually it's not just an angel, it's an angel and a demon, and they're usually arguing with one another. Right?
Yep.
And then you got to decide which one's right. So
I always
weird that she picks shoulders. That's all I'm saying.
I always wondered
It's right on her shoulder.
Do they like hang on for real life? But what if you make it like a jerky motion, and you twist your
You
shoulder?
just
real
like
quick,
toss the
so
devil.
they just fall off your shoulder, roll on your back, and
No, they've got like suction cups to hold on.
oh, okay. I never really knew.
No, the angel falls off her shoulder into her shirt, onto her boobs, and then it's real confused.
I don't know where to go. Does she have boobs?
It's like,
I mean,
it's so sweaty down here. It's sweaty, right?
You're dry at the same time.
Sweaty. I can't even climb back up.
It's moist
so
and dry.
slick because of the sweat.
All right, let's keep playing.
That's my angel impression.
How come
By
this?
the way,
tell you what, I
Just
appreciate.
didn't come in the package. I mean, a number of things came in the package, but that is not one of them.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you standing strong. We need more people.
Is she
like
literally
you.
wearing a pearl necklace?
Well, the
Two
900
pressure pearls?
pages of material attached to this case, as you refer to that a couple times, where can people get to that? Is that public record?
Yes, they're on my website at sydneypowell.com, and they're on our website defendingtherepublic.org, which, your organization, is a C4 nonprofit. that we are using to litigate not only the election issues, defending ourselves from the billions of dollars of suits brought by Dominion and Smartmatic and Eric Coomer, but also to fight the COVID vaccine. We've got a number of high-profile cases coming with respect to that, and also to represent January 6 defendants who have been treated worse than Guantanamo terrorists.
Hold on a second. All of a sudden, it went from fighting Smartmatic and Dominion to fighting COVID to defending the January 6th. I mean,
no, not fighting COVID, fighting the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, they're on Team COVID. Is the point? Like they're on Team.
Okay, but I got to go back a second because they're like fighting the January 6th and all this Republican crap. Before the election in November, what was Trump doing? He was fast tracking the vaccine. So it's the Republicans who are pushing for this to get out as fast as possible. And now that it's out, because it came out during the Democratic or during the Democrats being in office, it's suddenly a Democrat vaccine.
Yes, that's the thing they continue to not understand, because it constantly happens where a Republican will be in office, then a Democrat will take over, and we'll literally be 3 weeks in, and something will be bad that is clearly caused by the previous administration, and they blame it on the Democrat. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But it's like
Republicans have the memory equivalent of a fucking goldfish,
right?
So
like,
that's
that's voters in general. Actually,
if God forbid Trump was in office right now and the vaccine was out, I guarantee you 100% of the Republicans would be vaccinated.
Yeah.
No,
this is what happens when you do nonsensical shit. When you're like, hey, this is a Democratic hoax. And then a week later, we're in a state of emergency. And, but don't wear your masks and don't worry about COVID. It's not that bad. But we made a vaccine. Like, nothing makes sense with them.
No,
I mean,
nothing makes sense.
I mean, they were trying for the longest time to call it the Trump vaccine.
Right?
I mean,
yeah.
And instead we got spike facts.
I almost wish we would have, though. Because if we had made it. If we had called it the Trump vaccine,
maybe we should
would fucking take it
for the sake of history. Take the stupid Trump vaccine, because if we know Democrat would have gone anyway and say, "Oh, fine, call it whatever you want."
Fine, whatever. I just want the shot to go back to life. Yeah.
Don't tell them it's for COVID. Just be like, there's a vaccine that Trump really, really wanted, and he fast tracked it because that's how much he wanted it. Because he likes to get business done. So you want to help Trump get business done, right? And get vaccine, your Trump vaccine.
That's because we have the best.
I mean, this will fight the deep state. Just get this vaccine, you'll be like a super soldier for the, fighting the deep state. Now, where can I sign up?
Yep.
Well, here's the thing. Let's just say, sake of argument, there is a quote unquote deep state, right? Mm-hmm. What would the deep state want? The deep state would want you to not take the vaccine and fucking die.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't their whole thing fucking like population control?
Yes. Eugenics.
Yes.
And eugenics, and getting rid of
the idiots, what they quote unquote call.
That's what I'm saying. So if there is a quote unquote deep state, that's what they would want. They wouldn't. The deep state wouldn't be like, "Don't take this vaccine." They'd be like, or the deep state wouldn't be like, "Take this vaccine, get vaccinated." They'd be like, "No, don't. It's bad. It doesn't matter to you."
I think they're playing 4D chess and they're just losing at it because, like, oh no, we created the thing to like save the people that do believe in vaccines and stuff. But that we also like, and it's of course, this is part of the conspiracy. It's not true. It's not real. Don't take medical advice from a podcast. There is a
disclaimer at the beginning of every episode.
Okay, good. But the deep state created the virus and the vaccine.
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
And then and then it's just killing off the fucking people that are.
This video is only like halfway done.
All right, so hit play.
In many ways, there are more than 80 of them that have been kept in solitary confinement in absolute bug-infested holes that no human being should be forced to occupy.
Also, now you're against it.
Kept there for months.
Nakatomi Bay, literally our prisons here.
Almost to death. He's blinded in one eye. He was beaten by the guards. We're trying to get emergency medical help for him. We filed that motion Friday night about 10:30 or 11 o'clock. I mean, my little team of 6 lawyers plus me is working around the clock on all of these issues, and we intend to get to the bottom of it.
Do you have any hope that it's going to actually change things?
It has to. We cannot let this stand. It just simply cannot stand.
No.
You cannot have a coup
Yes.
of the greatest country on earth by massive, obvious, documentable fraud. It just cannot be allowed to stand.
Still.
The Supreme Court is going to have to step up and fix it, or they will have absolutely no further use in the United States of America.
How are you going to stop
I
them?
mean, we've witnessed a complete institutional failure of every institution in our Constitution that was created to protect the rights of individuals and this country, which was divined by God to be the beacon of freedom on the face of this earth.
Absolutely.
We
Yep.
cannot let that light be snuffed out. We must.
Okay, I can only take so much.
It's like we got to go with the Supreme Court because that's the only 7 people that are
No.
brainwashed enough to like with power that we can use.
Here's the thing that kills me, though, is suddenly now she cares about how prisoners are being treated. This
Yeah,
happens
right?
in our prisons. They're in solitary confinement by
Yep.
themselves in concrete rooms
Mhm.
with bugs.
Mhm.
They're not the cleanest things in the world, and now
Yeah.
suddenly she cares when it's
Well, because they're white.
okay. Probably.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's what it
Republican.
is. That's literally what it is.
I'm
And do you
sure
really
a lot
think the
of them-
guards beat up this January 6th guy? Do
Yeah,
you think the guards did that?
I highly doubt it.
Yeah, he was just running like into walls and his fucking.
Yeah.
He was just, I mean, come on.
Anyway,
Maybe they did. That
It's
one
like
shit
2 on
happens.
2, and then runs into the fucking wall.
That
Wait,
what
wait,
happens. Guards do beat
Yeah,
up people.
it's cutting you
so-
off because we're kind of running out of time.
Fine.
So
Okay, whatever, Dad.
thank you so much for that. Let's take a quick pause, and when we come back, we'll be talking to David and Dana Fitzgerald about their new book, Time Shards.
mhm.
That's going to be cool, so you stay right with us.
It's where atheists gather. This is LATV 2.0.
All right, our next guests are the authors of the trilogy Time Shard. They're snappy dressers and snazzy dancers, David Fitzgerald and Dana Fredsti. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Hey guys, it's great to be here.
Oh, hold on a sec. I'm supposed to do my large applause. And there it is. Yay! Oh, guys, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Dana's the first time.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And she's going to be traumatized by this after this. So,
Yeah.
right now, you can go to David Fitzgerald's page and contribute to Patreon. And whatever money you contribute to Patreon after the show today, he will use for psychiatric help for Dana because it's her first time on the show. So thank you so much, guys, for being on the show. Maybe you'd be so kind to give us a quick bio as to who you guys are.
Gotcha. You want to start? You want
No,
me to
you
All
start.
right. My name's Dave Fitzgerald, and I'm best known, probably if I'm known at all, for a series of books called Nailed and Jesus Mything in Action. Basically, atheist books, history books for religious topics. Religious books for atheists. That's what I write. And,
Atheists can read.
right? And
David also has a distinction of being actually probably one of the most, if not the most, returned guest on this podcast.
woohoo! That's not.
I know, right?
That's great to hear. I love going to this show. Actually, I always feel like I've come back home.
Man, that hits me, man.
David, I'm supposed to be traumatized by this. I'm not sure how to correlate that.
No, it's all snuggly and warm. Like,
You'll be
just wait. Like, let's...
So anyway, when I'm not writing blasphemous history books for atheists, I do science fiction and other topics. And Dana also is a writer.
I am also a writer. I write mostly fiction. I've written the Ashley Parker Plague books for Titan Books, who's also the publisher of the Time Shards trilogy. And what else about me?
Well, Ashley Parker, that trilogy is a zombocalypse, sort of
Buffy meets the Walking Dead. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah.
Also working
That
on
sounds
a trilogy,
awesome.
that's sort of urban fantasy, the Lilith series.
Horror, a dark urban fantasy, and
Yeah.
Lilith is a stunt woman who's also a demon hunter because one does these things. And yeah.
And fun fact, Dana is an ex. I won't say stunt woman because she hates when I say that, but she draws on her experience working in Hollywood as a stunt person.
I was a specialty player doing sword fighting, like movies like Army of Darkness and some really
She's my
bad.
new favorite person. I love her already.
Right?
Yeah.
What?
So-
Oh,
so
man,
the old-
Army
the
of
old-
Darkness is amazing.
If you get tired of your favorite fella, come and see me, dear.
So the old advice of right was right?
Excuse me. I guess I've been traded in.
She's totally kicking.
I'm missing like half the crosstalk, so you're fine.
You know what? I this is completely random, obviously, but I always wanted to do a book or a show about. There was something I called Shadow Dancers. It was supposed to be like a horror movie, but these creatures were actually living in shadows. So they were.
Now, is this an actual movie that existed, or is this just a beautiful
No,
dream?
this is something I wanted to do.
Oh, nice.
So for example, if you think the protagonist has to be in a room that's got nothing but light, but he's still casting a shadow, so the creature could still reach out of the shadow and grab him from there. You know, I always wanted to do that, so I do for you guys. Write it
You
down.
need to read my first book, Spawn of Lilith, because there's a movie within the book, and the movie is called Pale Dreamer, which is actually based on a screenplay that my ex-husband and I wrote. And the bad guys in that move through the shadows. They're shadows.
Nice.
So you might want to read it.
And I thought I had an original idea there. Okay.
And if you want to see the shadow people, just stay up for 4 days straight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, on meth. You know, that's the
Hey, now.
generally the.
We
Don't
don't
do
give,
that.
we don't give out how we do a show here. Guys, let's talk about time shards, and let's go with the genesis of it. How did you guys come up with this idea? First of all, it's a collaboration between you two guys, and you guys have been writing this for quite a while, and now all three of your books are out.
Yeah, I'm done.
And actually, I've heard nothing but great things about it, to the point that we are actually going to get a trilogy from you guys and actually give it out as a contest to our listeners. We talked about this on the show early on, so hopefully we'll have you guys will be kind enough to autograph the copy for the lucky winner that gets the trilogy. But let's go on the genesis of it. How did time shards start?
You want to tell the story?
Yeah. Dave used to do a lot of tabletop role-playing games, and he was telling me about an idea he'd had for one of them, which was basically what would happen if the timeline shattered and was put back together like a patchwork quilt, and you'd have people in all of these different, like people from the name some time periods. My mind is blanking on
Renaissance.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle, but the puzzle pieces all came from different times. Like over here, it's 1776. There, it's 5 million BC. Over here, it's
So
far future.
he was telling me about this when we were driving home from Comic-Con one year, and I just got chills up and down my spine, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a great series idea for a book. And so I made him sit down with me and write up 50 pages and send it to my agent, who's now our agent, and she pitched it to Titan, and that's what happened. Yeah, because it was just such a cool idea. So that's how it happened.
So without giving spoilers, you essentially, I'm assuming here in your book, you have a couple protagonists. The timeline essentially breaks.
Right. One of the fun things, it's kind of got all the elements of a time travel novel and a post-apocalyptic novel. And it's got a real motley crew of heroes. So, and one of the fun things about them is they're from different times as well. So we've got a girl from, 20th century San Diego. 21st century, actually. We've got a guy off a Celt from the 1st century. Victorians, World War II commandos, ancient Egyptians, it's really fun to have such a ragtag group that, like, for instance, in the first book, our two main protagonists, that girl and the guy, they don't speak the same language at all.
Yes. That's exactly what I wanted to focus on, because I see too many books and movies that do that, I guess, for the benefit of the reader. But you'll have, he time travels back to King Arthur's court and they speak the same American English. How could that possibly be? And you guys decide to tackle that as authors to make it more realistic.
Exactly.
Is that-
It's funny because I'm mostly known for history books, and usually I'll write a history book and then I want to do some fiction project, because that way I don't have to worry about footnotes. I don't have to worry about citations and all that, making arguments. I just have to make it all up. Well, this book, we had to do the research. We had to get it all right, and we had to make it all up. So in a lot of ways, it was the worst of both worlds, but I think it's...
He loves research. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It's just when he says, oh, it's so hard, it's like he is never happier than surrounded by a pile of books.
It's a fair
If
cop.
we have an earthquake, he's buried in books. That's it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I could totally see that happening too.
But it's funny because, like, on every single page of that book, you can know there's at least one thing that took an hour's worth of, well, what did they use for money in 1452,
Right.
This year?
Wow. Yeah.
Damn,
so-
and it's like, it's funny because like now I wish we would have made a skit that was like, Jesus with Rasputin and Jesse James just
As
chilling,
far as
just
like
see
a
what they're doing.
sandbox goes, it's a really cool idea because you can throw lots of things together.
Yeah.
One rule we did have is we decided to make it geographically stable. So like in book one, it takes place in southeastern England. And so you're not going to see Japanese samurai. You're not going to see Jesse James. You're not going to see, but you can see Neanderthals. You can see King Arthur's knights.
Oh.
That would be there during some point.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you
It's
were
really
from-
good. It kind of gave it corners, so it wasn't completely crazy off the wall.
So
And
so it's time, but not necessarily time and space.
right, I mean, yeah, to an extent. And it was the fun thing about that is, as the series progresses, they go to different places, and the story really takes off in book 2 and book 3. And so as it goes to these new places, we would do research there and realize, oh, here's this thing we didn't even realize. We got to throw that in the book, Here's dinosaurs that lived in this place. We got to put them in the book.
So
Dana's
is it-
really big on getting giant sharks and monsters and
Crocodiles and titanoboas.
and all the.
Well, I'm a horror writer, and one of the things that I like about stuff is I like a real sense of horror, even if there's a sense of humor, and even if it's science fiction, because that's just what I like. So you would ask me, what time periods do you want? And I'm like, can I have a megalodon? Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, dude, that makes it so fun. Like,
So the interesting part about this is you can rely on what we know of the past, but since you're doing something about time travel, I'm assuming there's something coming from the future as well.
There could be.
Maybe.
There could be. Maybe.
Oh no, we're not going to reveal that.
We're not doing
yeah.
spoilers yet.
I'll just say
Kevin.
this.
we're
I'll just say
talking
this.
about
Book 1 starts with there's this thing called the event, shatters the timeline. And so book 1 is basically we meet all these different characters
That
who
have
have no
survived.
idea what
Yeah.
just happened.
Because
And,
most, when the timeline shatters, basically, you could have like a tiny little section of one timeline here, and then the rest of whatever was in that timeline, they're gone.
yeah.
They're gone, and
It's like
so
a cookie cutter. Chunk, 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 chunk,
yeah,
you know?
so there's not a ton of survivors. It just depends on the shards and what was there when it happened. So
Yeah, but there's enough interesting things that sometimes they'll walk into a place and they don't know where, when, or what the hell is going on in this particular place.
So
there's
let me see if
What's
I
that?
let me see if I can get this straight.
Sure.
So let's say, for example, we're in your book. Let's say we're in your book.
Okay.
David, Dana, and I are having a conversation.
Yeah.
Your timeline shattered. Now, what happens to one of us, and what happens to the other two?
Well, here's the thing: if we're all in the same geographic area right now,
right,
you'll be fine, assuming that the shard that we're in is big enough to keep all of us together.
Can I say what happens to Amber?
Sure.
Yeah, well, not necessarily, because one of the very first things that happens when the event happens is our heroine Amber is out on a boat and an idyllic little picnic with this guy she just met, and when the event happens, the boat is chopped in half. She's gone, and he's still holding her hand, just his arm.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's classic.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, depending if we were here in Humboldt County, California, or in Canada, we would have, lumberjacks or Indians or, fill in the blank.
So essentially, if we were in the same room, all three of us, like we're looking at you now,
Yeah.
the timeline could shatter right between the two of you across. You split me in half, and that's your shard right there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's under the dome style. Like you just get cut, dude. You just
With my luck, I'm the one that ends up cutting half.
I like it.
My luck.
Love it.
So is let's say, for example, let's say that example. Okay, I've been cut in half. Dana and David have been separated. Now, what are you? Is David sent to a different time, or is Dana?
What's probably happened is one shard has been destroyed completely, and another shard is still around. So 50-50 shot that.
So in this example,
all three of us are going to be gone. One of us may be gone permanently. One of us may be stuck on the shard world.
Yeah.
And one is chopped in half.
Yeah.
Or did the other shards go somewhere else? There's your
So this
follow-up.
We haven't actually specified, but we talk about it because I like the idea that there's always, as much as I like to kill people, I also like the idea, we could bring people back,
Well, again, not too much of a spoiler, but there's some hints in book 1, what happens to at least some, if not most of the shards. But then there's some crazy things happening in book 1, book 2, and finally in book 3, where we see it's not even that clear cut. No pun intended.
I'm just gonna have to pull out that audio of Dana saying, "As much as I like to kill people, I'm just."
I was just gonna say, like, for the listeners, like, that's not. Don't clip that out.
For our audience, Dana does not kill people. Okay?
In the book.
In the story.
In the story, it's a whole different thing.
In the story, she's like Chucky; she just kills everyone.
Every author I know, their website, if the FBI gets a hold of it, it's like, they're gonna set up all these weird. No, that's a horror author. It's
for
fine.
my last book, my third in my Lilith series, I spent a lot of time researching serial killers and stuff like that, and it's like, it's just,
How do you get away with murder? How do you?
People do have a morbid fascination with serial killers. I mean, how many people listen to true crime podcasts all the time, right?
Yeah.
Guilty.
Oh man, like all the time.
All that's on my podcast.
Okay,
Gross. Who listens to podcasts?
Well, yeah, right. If you do like serial killers, you might enjoy some of the books in Time Shards too. Because
hey, shush!
I'm just saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you just spoiled the whole thing. Now, there's serial killers.
That was one of the cool things about collaborating that I wasn't sure about in the beginning. But like, I never would have thought to put a serial killer in a book like this. I never would have thought to like do horrible things to innocent people, but the way she does in there. So. Yes, I know. It's humor too. I mean, her horror is horrific, but it's also very funny too. If you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there's a lot of that kind of.
So we know not to mess with Dana right off the bat.
Oh yeah, clearly, don't mess with Dana.
Don't mess with this woman; she's gonna kick your ass. So let's go back to that example I said. Okay, time charges happen. I've been cut in half. I'm dead. Now, David and Dana eventually on each side of a different shard. Is one of you staying in place, or another one like transported to a different time, or is it reassembled with something?
Here's what I would think would happen: is one of us, you can pretty much flip a coin and see which it was, would still be here in this little chunk of wherever we are
in the shard world.
The other, they'd be surrounded by maybe something in the Pleistocene era, maybe something in the 1st century, maybe something in the future. So there's lots of questions about what that could be.
Well,
would you like to probably be the one chased by
all three of us could be dead.
No, then again, the shard could have just encompassed all 3 of us, and we'd all be fine.
But that's not what he's asking.
An island.
That's not what he's asking.
An island of our own little time here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Dina needs to see some blood, so I've been dead. I've been cut in half.
He's dead.
I'm dead.
He's dead.
Okay.
He's been cut in half.
Yeah,
Kevin's dead. Okay.
So
yeah, I know he's trying to figure out if we were all if he's cut in half and you and I, the shard cuts him in half and we're like on either side, one of us would still be in the shard world and the other person would
probably be gone.
Yeah, would be gone.
For all
we don't know where. So.
Maybe disintegrate into component atoms. Maybe something else.
Yeah,
we don't know.
That's as clear cut an answer we can give you on that. So
one would be standing here with the half of a squid octopus hat, and
that brings you to my next question. Staying with this example, okay, David and Dana have been separated. Kevin's cut in half. The material world around you, the room you're in, is that also cut in half, or is
yes.
just?
Oh yes. Yeah.
Wow.
For instance, say we're here in the office at the Clark Museum, which is where Dave and I are right now. So whoever is here in the Shard world, there will be part of an office, and then there could be this office, say 20 years ago, with whatever changes are going on, or we could have a slice of the Pleistocene era, and there could be a dinosaur right there.
Yeah, literally any other. It could be in the middle of a battle between cavalry and Indians. Because that's another thing in book 1. We see people getting yanked out at the most inopportune times. Neil Armstrong on the moon.
Right. So do you get like a half of a Eiffel Tower sort of situation?
Yeah, we haven't. That's a fun thing about this book. And one of our author friends who gave us a blurb says, I can't stop thinking about this book because it's a great sandbox to play in. You keep thinking, oh, if we were over here, what would we see here? If we were over here,
yeah, like part of the Tower Bridge is still there, part is gone. I mean, it just depends. You'll have to read it.
It allows you to play with your own imagination.
Awesome. So David can be transported to prehistoric time, but he lands right beside a velociraptor. But the raptor itself has been cut, like in lost its life.
Fixation on everybody getting cut in half. It's just at the edges. Just at the edges. Everything inside is fine. Yeah.
Sabrina, hide the knives.
I know. Trust me, I know.
The most fun thing about this kind of mix and match is having all these characters who don't just speak different languages until we figure that out in book 2, but they look at the world in different ways. So it was fun to have like their strengths and weaknesses work together. Like for instance, our first century Celt, he doesn't freak out at certain things as much because he expects the world to be weird and full of magic and monsters and things like that.
Right. That was a great thing.
And yet he's very superstitious. He prays to everything. He's got all these Celtic, mindset about things.
He could easily build a fire as compared to somebody from this century would have a hard time.
Exactly, that kind of thing. And he came in strangely handy in a situation that the others couldn't figure out, and he had an idea, and it turned out to be the right one. So it wasn't just like, oh, the guys in the future know they have all the answers, and they that's a trope that's kind of played out and doesn't really hold up well, I think, for the reasons you just said. You know how to live in this world, and you know how to be more in touch with nature and things like that.
I've got a strange question here because you guys obviously did a lot of research on this, and to be quite faithful to and accurate about the characters you're putting in there. Did you feel that maybe as authors that you might have to dumb things down for the audience? That might not be as well.
No. In fact, the opposite is true. We went way too far and way too deep into things. But the nice thing about it is people have read it, and critics and authors have told us it feels like you're there when you describe these instances and these times. And I'm really super happy about that.
Dumbing things down never works. It's like, if you're writing YA or even children's books, you'd never want to dumb it down. You just basically want to, moderate the language or amount of sex or whatever is going to be in it. But what's the point of dumbing things down?
Exactly. Because part of the fun is immersing yourself in these other. It makes it another world when you go into the.
Yeah, it allows you to use your imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree, but I mean, this is a strange era that we live in. Where people.
Oh, for sure.
Movies, books. Sometimes, even when a lot of movies you'll see today, they'll just put a phenomenon. They'll just give it a one-line explanation, and people seem to be satisfied with it. You guys went the other way. You basically went really, really.
I think books tend to do that in general.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Sabrina. Yeah. And it was fun. It was super fun. And we tried to keep the history so spot on. For instance, this I feel super guilty about. This is the level of detail. So there's a character in the English Civil War who says something, a word, pandemonium, which really he could have said later in his life, but he couldn't have said it at this point in time because it was still 10 years away from being written. That's the level of what we're thinking about. It's like,
that is detail. That is detail.
Super detailed.
Yeah.
Okay.
and hopefully, and in a fun way, it's the story moves along and it's constantly bouncing from ping-ponging from one section to another, so it reads really fast.
Yeah.
And, but that's good though, because then you're gonna have all the nerds be like, that guy was actually a time traveler, and that's how he was. You know, he was already traveling through time. That's how he was able to know that word.
And
before that happened.
Our audiobook narrator, bless his heart,
Oh God.
we counted finally throughout the trilogy. There are 22 different languages he had to learn
Oh my
to do the audiobook.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
he's really
Yeah.
good. He's up there with Ray Porter as far as
Yeah.
awesome.
Aaron Shedlock
Yeah,
from
he's amazing.
Tantor. He's really great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm assuming you guys did this collaboration. I'm assuming each one of you has the strength and weaknesses. I mean, we're all already established that when it comes to history and stuff like that, that's David's forte, obviously.
Yeah.
What about you, Dana? What was your big contribution to the what did you bring that David may not have been as good to bring to that book?
I think outside the box as far as different characters, I brought some levels that wouldn't have been there otherwise. And did I mention Megalodon? I also have written more fiction than he has, and I'm good at pacing and at roping him in, going, no, we're not going to have an entire chapter of French soldiers singing French songs, honey. No.
Thank you.
I'm not either. That was an example of no, this has to be trimmed.
Slightly exaggerated, but not very exaggerated.
No.
Well, for instance, there's two whole chapters that basically had to get cut. One was a French Napoleonic battle scene, and the other was a chunk of the Battle of El Alamein in World War II.
Well, those were actually fun scenes. For me, it was. He spent a long time researching those French songs, by God, and he wanted to use them.
Not a whole chapter, but,
honey, it was a whole chapter. It was a whole chapter.
I would have read those French songs for sure.
Yeah,
totally
handing it to you to translate.
And, every book is like an iceberg. This is a little tip, and beneath it, there's so much research.
Yeah, we have.
This was
the
massive.
iceberg beneath these books is
Massive,
huge.
yeah.
But yeah, for me, Dave is really good at writing action too. I just have a different take on characters. And also, I will say this, when it comes to female characters and how they are presented, he needed me.
Yeah.
It's funny because Dave is not chauvinistic. He's very, pro strong women and everything like that. But for whatever reason, whenever he wrote anything for Amber, I immediately saw her as this little I'm going to chew
he just didn't have the perspective.
Yeah, it's weird. He loves me, and I'm not like that at all. So it was a very interesting problem to have because it was something I didn't expect. So
it's great that you guys can manage to collaborate like that and actually
really good.
Like a better term, compensate for each other.
And we spent lots of walks on the beach hashing out the plot problems.
Of course.
And I like collaborating.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing I brought to it is experience collaborating.
Yeah.
And so a lot of different people I've collaborated with. So it gave me more perspective of the best way to approach it with Dave when he was kind of like, this is my baby, hands off. So.
And honestly, I mean, we've collaborated on a lot of stuff unofficially, but this was the first one that had both of our names on it. And it really did feel like it's my baby. And it's like, I was very super protective, but right from the get-go, she just brought so much to the story. And
I loved, awesome. It was such a great idea. So,
It is a great idea, and the potential of that idea is beyond what you guys wrote already.
Yeah.
So the question is there going to be another time shard, maybe like a time and space shard or something like that?
Well, there is a kind of throwaway line in book 3 where somebody describes something that happened. It's like, we can say more about this, or we could just write a whole other book about it later. And it could happen. It could happen. We're actually already talking about doing an anthology of short stories set in the time shard universe. And a couple people have been expressed interest in being on board with that.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
And this is one of those things I've got my fingers crossed, but it's such a long shot. I'm not even worried about it. But at least 2 people have pitched it to producers in Hollywood for a TV.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
That sounds like such an amazing idea for a movie.
Yeah.
And God knows it'd be a huge blockbuster.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm I
Like
used
you-
to be an avid reader, and I haven't for a long time, but I want to read these books.
It's super fun, honestly. I love the characters. I love the situations that they're in, and it's just as a history geek and a science fiction geek, it really hit all the notes.
Nice.
No,
I think I'll get sucked in.
I got to ask a question about your characters because the event happens and they're projected somewhere else. In
No,
time.
they're not projected.
projected.
They stay in place. It's just everything else goes
Everyone
to hell.
else is
around.
gone.
Comes together.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah, I
my
understand.
bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
history, if you study history, is a lot of moments of boredom punctuated by a few moments of excitement.
Yeah.
So it kind of, as a reader, does every character just pop up in a moment of excitement all of a sudden, or
There's a mix. There's a mix.
okay?
Yeah.
That's good because it kind of would feel weird if every character pops up at an amazing battle all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking that'd be like, so funny. Like, as far as like, not thinking that like wars are going on. It's, like you got people from wars popping into the dude playing video games room, I'm playing actually your level. What are you doing here? Like,
yeah. For example, we have one gal, she's a minor character who gets drunk and comes out of the pub, several sheets to the wind, stumbles off to find her way home and ends up in a swamp that's not supposed to be there, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You guys get virtual reality, and all of a sudden he ends up in a real battle.
Yeah,
it's real.
I love it.
It's safety settings.
It's funny. We had some critics that clearly did not get the book at all because one was saying, "Oh, there's this huge plot hole about blah blah blah." It's like, dude, did you read the book? That that's not a mistake. That's on purpose.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And one thing was complaining about, they keep running into dinosaurs, and it's like, have to get to, It's like, I'm sorry you hated it, but that's part of the featured presentation.
You're gonna have to have that. Yeah.
Dinosaurs that had a much longer reign on this planet than we ever had.
Yeah, there's a lot of them because there's a lot of points in history, where and some of the shards are larger than others.
Yeah, and and in the course of the book, they come to realize that the further it is from the event, the bigger the shards are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So there's very few high-tech shards, for instance. So there's not a lot of TV, radio, and electricity going on anymore.
Yeah.
But there's lots of Ice Age and earlier and Cambrian explosion and
you on the beach, next thing you know, you get an ice age around you. It's like, oh god, oh my goodness.
yeah, it literally happens to our
oh god.
That's how we first
Stop
meet.
giving out spoilers without even knowing.
Yeah.
You're on
the right track now. You're on the right track.
One of my favorite things, and he added this for me because he also knows I like natural disasters. Not personally, but I like,
yeah, being in them is not fun.
Disaster porn. The bit where the geography changes, and so we get the tsunami.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff that happens.
Yeah, that's another great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Point. All of a sudden, something's separated halfway, and all of a sudden there's a cliff missing or something like that. All of a sudden, that impacts everything around.
It was also fun playing with how different characters think what just happened, or how they described the event, or whatever they called it in their little.
Oh, they got all their conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, big time. Big time.
Yeah, I'd imagine that would be the case.
Please tell me you got a QAnon supporter in your book somewhere that ends up with dinosaur food.
I mean, we can't have a virus without conspiracy theories. So this I can imagine. Jesus.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a lot more post-apocalyptic. There's a lot fewer people to spread conspiracy theories anymore.
Yeah,
more dinosaurs, fewer people. But
very good.
And with some notable exceptions here and there.
It kind of got rid of the GOP, though.
Kind of did.
Yeah.
That worked.
Yeah.
I love it already. I'm
very appreciate you.
Yeah, and Amber went in her. I think she's in 2014, 2015. So she's pre-Trump. So yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Trump's not even a part of. Trump's just that guy from The Apprentice, as far as she's concerned.
Right.
Wow.
That was already too much.
Yeah.
And you know what? Actually, I definitely don't want to get into the spoilers, but there's some throwaway lines about what's happening in our future that people will enjoy too.
Ooh.
/ be horrified by. But
Yeah.
No, I find it interesting that you were telling how the further away from the event, the bigger the shards, because it brings the idea of a window that's been a rock's been thrown into, and that point of impact is going to get the small shards, and the bigger ones are going to be further away. Is that what you guys use?
And I'll just say
that's a good analogy.
Part of the arc of the story of the trilogy is them figuring out what the hell just happened, and
did you hear his question?
Sorry, what? I thought I did. What did you repeat it?
He was saying
he was
like
basically he's asking if you threw a rock through your window to figure out how the shards would work.
Was that the inspiration?
Sorry, I was picturing the whole timeline as being that stained glass, and the event being the rock, and which is a very good analogy. And what I was going to say is the arc of the book is they're determining what was that rock and where did it hit, you know.
But like as far as the sides of the shards would go, right? So like if you threw a rock through a window, like the closest shit by the rock would be very small, right? It would be like a small like impact, right? And so there'd be all these tiny shards. And if the farther you got back, like then you get your big pieces, right? So it's like farther away from.
Now that's never come up when we talked about it. That analogy did not come up, but
it's spot. That is exactly what the case is. So you've got very few future shards, very few 20, and anyway, I'm belaboring.
That's awesome. Okay, no, that's just funny that like we came to the Kevin basically did the conspiracy theory thing and like came up with his own
that's exactly
reasoning.
It makes me happy to have you say that because you are immersed in the shard world now. It's like somebody in the shard world.
It's the lore, man. Like
I gotta ask because you're dealing with some subjects. You're dealing with breaking the timeline, and if there is a group out there that likes to nitpick at this kind of stuff, or like physicists and stuff like that, so have they come back to talk to you about what your interpretation of that?
Fortunately, I mean, physicists would have the best way to nitpick because I nitpick it. It's like I can tell you a 20-page thing on why this could never ever work. For instance, just one thing, we're moving in space and through time.
Yes.
So that's a mess.
I was just going to say
but even more, the universe is expanding, which means everyone is getting bigger all the time. We don't realize it, but if you had like shards over the last 3 weeks, you'd be getting smaller and smaller until you could like fit on your dashboard or
It's like writing a zombie fiction. As long as your internal logic has to be consistent, even if you're using soft science or even if you're making shit up, you have to be consistent. And the meticulousness of the thought and the research that he did to make it consistent.
And that was ironclad. We did not, break those rules at all. At one point,
I made him explain it to me in terms I could understand. And so it took, he had to think about this a lot. This is like.
Well, and at one point, our editor wanted to do something just to kind of mix things up. And it's like, dude, no, don't you get it? You can't do that.
Don't listen to the editor.
Never work in this. It's kind of like when you see Matrix and then you see Matrix 2 and 3, and they're like, but,
4 is coming out this year.
Ew.
We'll see what. Yeah, maybe they'll be able to bring it back like they did with Alien, but we'll see.
So are there just like Napoleon's army just like in space, just dead?
No, there's nobody floating around in space. No.
Okay.
Well, actually, I say that.
We're never going to know exactly what happens to the people that are not on Shard World because we're not entirely sure. Just assume that they're gone.
Well, you say that. And yet,
but they could be in space.
I'll tell you what. You finish reading book 3, and then we'll talk. Because you'll have you'll approach that question in a different way.
He keeps trying to get an answer to this question. It's like, you're not going to get an answer to this. No.
I will say this though, there is an answer. There is an answer,
but you can't have it.
And you can't have it yet. I
read the book,
you. You have to earn it. Yes, by reading the book.
Okay, Yoda.
It's the American way, man. Like you gotta earn this shit.
It's better for you. You'll appreciate it better.
No, I have no idea what he's talking about. So,
but this subject is so fascinating. This subject is so fascinating, and I'm glad you guys pulled out a trilogy. Because I think one book by itself would not have been enough to actually.
Oh God, no!
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
but it's funny because I feel like the story doesn't even really get started until book 2. Honestly,
I was about to ask you. That's the book one. There's probably a lot of setup to.
It's a lot of setup. I mean, it's self-contained, but at the end, you're kind of going, "Oh my God! If there's not a sequel, I will."
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but it's such a big world that I'm really surprised it's only in 3. I mean,
well, this is exactly it. That was my question. Now that you guys have established this world, this is a bit like the story of Star Wars. It started as one movie contained within itself. It grew to a trilogy, and then it grew into an entire universe.
There's a
well, I mean, Lucas had an
danger.
idea for all 9, but
There's a total danger of something like that happening because we see a big chunk of the world through the course of this trilogy, but it's a big planet, and we could go even more. And we really tried to include even just little bits, nods to everywhere. I mean, but yeah, there's just so much, and some places have a surprising amount of history.
The story with these characters is, I mean, there could be more to their story as well, but the story that we were trying to tell, we could tell in 3 books in terms of
exactly
what the setup, the goal that they have to do, and what they have to do to obtain that goal. That we covered in 3 books.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you could do an entire series like that and do the time short Africa, and do the entire time short from the African point of view. What happened in Africa? Well, the main story happened somewhere.
You could go back a bunch. I mean, you can go back to every single place and culture, and have the same event happen, and see how they go. Oh man!
Here's the thing, though. And one of the most fun things about this book was being able to kind of shine a spotlight on the history you never knew.
Right.
It's like, oh, I didn't know these guys were even here. Or this
Oaxacians.
Well, yeah. No.
You're spoiling. You're spoiling. Right?
There's whole cultures and whole just the kind of the smaller things in history that they're really cool, but you don't necessarily hear about them in history class until you read a book like this. It's like,
so you got the baby magic Jesus, and he's fucking with everybody, right?
Okay, and that is my next question to you, Steven.
Funny thing. One other rule we had was no fictional characters, so no Sherlock Holmes, no Robin Hood, and no Jesus.
No, I mean, that's debatable. I mean,
it is debatable. For purposes of this book,
no Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have had a guy named Jesus.
There's so much more I can say about that, but I'm going to shut up right now.
Yeah, otherwise
I know.
Moses parting the Red Sea in that. And
there you go.
In the middle of the event.
Yeah.
So.
I just wanted on record that I purposefully triggered.
Another thing is there's so much cool stuff in history. We didn't need to go to the bullshit side of history.
Right.
And that was one of the major fun things about this book. I feel like I know the city of ancient Alexandria so much better than I did when I started writing the book.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that I could correct the mistakes on maps in other books of Alexandria I read.
Oh, that's great.
Wow,
yeah, have you seen the movie Agora? I kind of have a love-hate with that movie, but the stuff they get right is really awesome.
We had to watch it so many times. But then again, we also watched Rat Patrol, which is my favorite childhood show. I used to watch with my dad to get some of the desert fighting stuff that we have going on. So that was fun.
A lot of research in this one,
and a lot of inspiration.
That's y'all's version of me is Chappie and my girlfriend's a Secret Garden. So it's an interesting, almost the same.
Yeah, you could have both of those. You could have both of those in a book like this, and we do. That's the beauty is we keep bouncing around, with different characters, different viewpoints, different places, different times.
I gotta ask you guys, without giving me a spoiler, okay. The event.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, is it what causes the time to split the shard and all that? Was it a man-made thing or was it a natural event?
We'll just let you read the book and you find out.
Perfect answer.
How are you supposed to not spoiler that one, man?
I was going to say, that's a major spoiler of the whole trilogy.
The biggest spoiler.
No, let's just leave that one.
That's last page shit right there.
No,
Darth Vader.
I don't want to know.
Bad, right?
So what's next then for David and Dana when it comes to writing stuff? Are you guys going to pursue that, or are you going to work on?
I just turned in copy edits in the 3rd book in my Lilith trilogy, and what am I doing next? I've got a couple different things that I'm thinking about. I wanted to take a break because I realized that it had been 10 or 15 years since I didn't have a book that was due, and I want some time to think about writing for the fun of it and not because I've got a contract gun to my head. So, but I've got some ideas. And yeah.
And I'm working on a book on sex and violence in the Bible, but I've gotten distracted a little bit because I've been asked to do some talks and do some reviews and critiques, and so there's little projects that have been in the way. But as a result of that, something, and I'll have to come on the show and talk to you about it, because it really is blowing my mind now. Where, I'm known for talking about Jesus. I feel like you guys are you still hearing me? It looked like
we still got it.
I know. I just say that.
It's not just Jesus that's a myth. It looks like, spoiler alert, every single world religion's founding figure is just as mythical as Jesus.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And it's like, I mean, there was a Joseph Smith, but there was no Prophet Moroni, no Mormon. And same thing with people like Muhammad, who you would think, well, we've got his family tree, we've got this whole history of Islam, and he was just 7th century, until you look at the early history, and then you start seeing the same patterns develop. It's like, actually, we don't know that until the 8th century, and actually, that was supposed to have happened in the 6th century, but it really didn't happen until the end of the 7th century.
Interesting.
And he will not be writing a book on Muhammad, though. I do not want to hire bodyguards.
Scientology and Islam, you're the one true faith, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, as long as you don't draw a picture of him, that's it's not a picture book, right? Like Muhammad, that'd be.
So I guess from 2 seasoned authors, maybe we have some budding authors in our audience. Who knows? Any piece of advice you guys would give them?
Don't try to do it all in your head and wait till it's perfect. Put it on paper first, or put it on the screen, and then try to fix it. That's a big one.
Also, don't be afraid to get editing done. That's
my words, my precious words. Like, get rid of that.
Read a lot.
Read a lot.
It just always amazes me, people who, a lot of self-published authors evidently don't really read very much. And read good stuff. Read.
Why are you looking at me when you said that?
Read good stuff like Time Shards and Spawn of Lilith. I'm
gonna say, if you want to write horror, read Stephen King. Just read a lot. Just read a lot, and learn to figure out, what the difference is between show and tell. That whole big thing. Don't tell us, show us, because and just really hone your craft. Don't just, I'm going to write a book and publish it without anything, without an editor and without ever having taken any kind of writing classes or read a book on it. I just don't be afraid to put time and effort into making it good. And also,
do the work.
That all being said, if that's what you want to do, don't let anyone tell you you can't. Because there's just so many different avenues to publication right now.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
It's funny too, real quick, that you had that you mentioned Stephen King, because I've read through the Dark Tower series, and it's completely not the same, obviously, but I feel like it has some similarities there. It's like the Dark Tower that goes, it's like the tower that goes through all the timelines, and it's like in the center, and you have all your.
I had no idea that all his multiverse was all connected. So somebody said, look, this is this, this is this.
So this is why you want to tell me how the time short happened. Stephen King's tower is basically what
his tower cut you in half.
Spoiler.
He did the Marvel Cinematic Universe way before anybody even thought that was a thing that you could do.
He's a really good writer. He, as far as I'm concerned, yes, he goes on too long sometimes, but his earlier stuff especially, he understands dialogue, he understands characters, except in it when he's got the kids talking like adults and having sewer orgies.
Random sex scenes that make no sense.
Really weird.
But like all of the backstories in that, I never get bored. Like when I read it or The Stand, because all of the little bits and pieces are so interesting and well written. I just think he's a really good example of just a really, really good writer.
He's phenomenal. Yeah, The Stand was incredible. And I don't like to read, like generally, like I like to listen to books, but like The Stand, I'll just sit there and read it because it's just like, it's so good. Like every bit, I'm in it, you know. But
I'm dying to see what you guys think of Time Shards, honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely head out and go to and get that.
Deal for sure. David, Dana, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really, really appreciate that. If people want to find out more about Time Shards and where they can get it, where can they get the book?
Anywhere
books are sold on the interwebs, but the best place to get it is at your local independent bookstore.
Because if they don't have it, you can order it.
Exactly.
So always go indie first.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, well, I'm an ebook kind of person, so.
Now,
on the interwebs, wherever interweb books are sold.
You can buy ebooks like Mysterious Galaxy.
Oh, okay.
You can buy
there you
ebooks
go.
from them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have just out of curiosity, do you have an Audible version or is it?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
You. All
Yeah.
right.
I don't think book 3 is out yet.
But it will be
Okay,
soon.
it will be soon.
Yeah,
I wasn't able to find it.
I think we mentioned him earlier. He's really, really good. He's awesome. So.
Yeah.
I was looking for the third book
great.
yesterday.
Okay.
Well, just all of them, and I could only find the 2. When was the third published?
Just
January?
a few. Yeah. Well, no, not January. Wasn't it later than that?
Oh, yeah, that's right. They moved it to April.
Yeah, but it's been out for a few months now.
Pandemic brain.
So there's Time Shards, Shatter War, and Tempest Fury is the name of the 3 books.
I just
Great titles.
Amazon was showing 2 books, but not 3. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I will go find. But you know what? I like the idea of an indie bookstore anyway. So that's right.
And maybe that was the Audible version.
Oh, that's possible
That could
too.
very well be. Yeah.
That's very possible.
David,
And I
thank you
just
so
bought
much
it
for the show.
on Audible. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean,
Before we let you go,
Sorry.
hi, this is David and Dana from Time Shards, and we took a left in the valley.
I'll say we did.
No, you gotta say it. You gotta say it.
You know the drill.
Oh, yeah.
You've been here now.
I'm Dave Fitzgerald,
And I'm Dana Fredsti.
and we took a left at the valley.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. That was awesome.
And that was our friend David and Dana Fitzgerald.
David Fitzgerald and Dana Fredsti.
Yeah, no, sorry, Dana. Awesome,
I believe
awesome
that must
guys.
be her author name.
Yeah,
Dana
exactly.
and David, Fredstein, and Fitzgerald.
And Dana
They were
survived her
great.
first encounter with her. Congratulations, Dana. That was great. she's a survivor, and we've learned also not to bug her. She'll kick your ass. No time.
Yeah, she knows how to write you out of story. That's for
Oh
damn
yeah, for
sure.
sure. I'll be written first
She
5
will.
minutes.
Murder.
Is that what we're calling it now? Writing them out of the story?
That's just murder, okay? Like, let's just.
I don't know about you guys, but I learned a lot about because I don't know the first thing about writing books and stories, and I learned a lot from this. You know how they approach the characters. I really, really appreciate the level of details they put in because it's I understand that sometimes when you get into a universe, you got to put your brain to the side and say, okay, you're in the universe of magic. Magic happens. You're not going to criticize that. It's in this universe, but it still has to be logical within that universe.
Yep.
Right, it has to remain consistent.
Exactly. And they took
it's got to
a
be
great deal of attention to that.
Yeah.
logically valid.
Exactly.
It still has to make sense.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than reading a movie, a story, or watching a movie where you say, "Well, wait a minute, you have
That
this
didn't make
happening,
sense."
and that didn't make sense at all."
Yeah.
And then you have this kind of
It's anachronistic.
Exactly. So I'm really, really glad to do that, and I expect to see and hear great things about that book and that series. And who knows where that's going to go into the future.
I'm very much looking forward to just reading it. I haven't read a book in forever, and I actually want to read all 3 of those. I can just see myself laying in bed for 3 days. I can usually devour a book a day. So.
Oh, really? That
Oh
much?
yeah, I love reading.
I'm looking forward to the Netflix special myself.
Hey, you'll get it on Audible.
So, reminder, we said this at the beginning of the show, but reminder our audience again for the contest there. What are we going to do?
You'll go to facebook.com/left at the valley, and there will be a post there directing you what to do. Contest will open on October 1st. So don't bother going right the second. Well, actually, I guess probably you could, because by the time this airs, it'll be close to October 1st.
Anyway.
On
So for-
October 1st, listen.
On
go
October
there.
1st, there will be a post telling you exactly what to do, the rules to follow. There's going to be lots of ways to enter, get extra entries by liking and sharing, etc., etc. So
Look at that.
Don't forget the word mojito.
yes,
Don't
exactly.
forget the
That code word, mojito.
That's fantastic. That's going to be great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to David and Dana for being our guests, and thank you to my co-hosts Sabrina, Brent, Lee, and Benjamin, and thank you for listening. You can follow us at leftoutofvalley.ca.
Mhm.
You can go to Twitter at LATV Podcast, and you can go to Facebook.com/Left
at the Valley.
Left at the Valley. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/LATV, where you can help us by supporting the show, where you get an extended version of the show with no cut, no editing, no nothing.
You
get
can
the
even
completely
watch us
raw.
live.
Exactly.
We've set the link a day early so that you can watch us do this right now.
Exactly. And what am I missing here? Give us a 5-star review where you find us. It helps us and helps others find this show.
Yep.
Friendly, talk about.
Did you say YouTube?
YouTube?
Yeah, we're on YouTube at Left of the
Yes,
Valley
YouTube.
2.0.
Yeah, well, I think you know that.
They
It's
might
wherever,
not.
wherever you find podcasts.
Where we
not
get
a
it
podcast.
later,
YouTube's
unless
a
you
YouTube
paid us
channel.
money. Then
But
you can watch it now.
specifically, like and subscribe on YouTube. God damn it.
Give us all the likes, all
That's
the subscribes, and all your money.
Yep.
Brent, you want to give us a quick plug for Unapologetics?
Unapologetics, spelled with an X at the end. Panel stream. Please come check us out. We're every Wednesday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, you can comment. We'll read your comments, and we're just hanging out, man. It's just a fun time.
Having a good time.
Coming up next week, we'll have Candace Gorman talk about death and dignity. We'll have His Wellness, Arn Raw, is coming on the show, and we'll be talking about whitewashing in the school system and everything like that. We'll have our friend Hector Garcia, Dr. Hector Garcia, will be talking about wokeness. That'll be interesting. And we'll have our Halloween episode at the end of the month. And we're also right now in talks with Tom and Cecil that hopefully we'll be able to bring back at the end of the year like we usually do.
Nice.
So anything else we need to add to this?
Have a great week.
All right, guys.
Do it.
Until next time.
Yeah. Get vaccinated.
Yes, get vaccinated.
Vaccines.
Proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen. I call it how I see it. I say it.
I'm Dave Fitzgerald.
And I'm Dana Fitz. Who am I? I'm Dana Fitz.
Let's take that again.
Absolutely.